We are ready. We
Oh, okay.
are we are live.
We're live.
We are
What?
live now. Yes.
So, hey guys, it's Robert Gardner with what usually is the Robert Gardner Wellness Podcast. I'm here today with Trent. We're gonna sit and chat about some things. Trent had some ideas about stuff he wanted to discuss, maybe massage related, maybe probably business marketing related as well, online distribution. So happy to have Trent Knox on the show.
Absolutely. Still trying to figure out uh, some settings, but now we're good. Yeah. I think that I want to add some contextual value to your podcast again because I feel like the two initial podcasts, um, I didn't really know what the industry or business of massage was like.
Yeah.
So just give me a second and we'll be good to go. Master and boom. Okay. Or actually, that's not the right. Boom. Turn that down is what I'm looking for. Okay, so now I can still hear you. I believe I can still hear you.
You can still hear me
And
loud and clear?
nope, still going through the master. So gotta figure out how to get rid of that. Through. All right. Still hearing. Okay, so are you there?
Yeah,
Ah,
doing fine. And all clear on my end.
okay. There we go. Now I can hear you, and everything is
All
good to
right.
go. Yeah, so I think that I can just I want to add a little bit more context to from where I see it now and where beforehand I didn't really understand is that uh, with media you are pretty much in relation to a lot of other massage therapists the only shop in town. Uh, I think that you know when when people go on Facebook, when they go on YouTube, when they go on any platform to be social, the only there's really no competition for you. And so
Yeah.
I think that the previous podcast that we did together, we didn't really discuss your history with media. What was that like? How did you? What was
Oh,
the first computer you touched? What was the and which?
so
How did you start
here's here's
doing
what
that?
here's what I remember. When I was probably in, like, I might have been a freshman or a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
My mom got a computer, and we eventually upgraded.
Uh oh, we lost Robert. Hopefully he comes back. I don't know what happened. One. Let's see if
Through.
we can get him back. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hold on, I can't hear you. Well, you there?
I'm still here. Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, your connection disconnected. So,
Yeah, I'm
you
not sure
remember?
why.
So you remember what?
I remember my mom getting a computer and eventually like upgrading to, we had something that was like, I think it was 90 megahertz was like the speed it ran at or something.
Uh huh.
And it was just like this, this big deal because this box came into the room and you could connect to, things, and it was like through dial up.
Yeah.
You know. So for me as a kid, being a freshman or a sophomore in high school, um, I mostly like played games on the computer, but I didn't see the advent of the internet.
Yeah.
I was very afraid of the computer. The computer is going to break. My mom is going to be angry. She spent a lot of money on this. It's an expensive toy.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got to college that I discovered the internet for the first time. So I was 18 or 19 years old. And once I started accessing information that way, this is way before YouTube. This
Yeah.
is 95. Yeah, 1995 was probably the time I was first on the internet ever.
Yeah.
And then through probably 96,
Yeah.
97, something like that, increasingly, I just spent times on like, I think it wasn't Yahoo Groups. It was like Yahoo had like a directory.
Mm-hmm.
So you could click on like history and look up stuff related to history and then, like that.
It was
So
more like
I
Craigslist at the time.
used, yeah, I mean, it's so hard to explain what it was like because it's so completely different now
Yeah.
than it was then. It just feels like ancient history at this point. But I accessed information. The thing was, I didn't see a commercial application for the internet at that time because the idea of somebody putting a credit card online was just like absurd.
Yeah.
So what happened was in some ways, even though I was accessing the internet for information, I wasn't really swept up in computers as a whole. When smartphones started to develop, I remember being at parties and it was like you try to have a conversation with someone and they'd be looking at their phone because they were texting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was new. That was very new technology at that point. And I couldn't understand why people just couldn't have a conversation. Why do they have this phone in their face? Because I didn't understand that the phone was a computer.
Mm-hmm.
Like it hadn't made that realization yet. So there was a point in time where I was scouring the internet for information on organic gardening, vermicomposting. I felt like people were disconnected from the land. They didn't know how their food was grown, sort of more of a hippie ideal. So
Yeah.
I was doing lots of gardening and I learned this stuff online,
Yeah.
but it hadn't been applied to my business yet. And
Mm-hmm.
my wife, or now wife,
Yeah.
my wife at the time, when I talked to her about it, I was having problems with my business. I couldn't get it really to take off.
Uh-huh.
Like, I was like kind of downtrodden about it and said, "Hey, am I not a very good massage therapist?" And she's like, "Baby, you're a wonderful therapist. Like
Yeah.
your massage therapy skills are amazing." She's
Yeah.
like, "You don't know how to run a business."
Mm-hmm.
And she's a little bit older than me and I was like, "Well, so what do I do?" And she's like, "Well, you need a website and then, to blog." And even saying blog at that time, it was like, "Blog, what does that mean? I don't understand." Like I didn't know what those things were. What happened was, as I started to focus on business and worked with her slowly in the beginning to get an idea of what was going on, you understood like YouTube, you understood Twitter a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Like
Yeah.
there was this capacity to like reach out in a way you couldn't before.
Yeah.
You could have a website, you could, you could make a YouTube video, put the YouTube video up, put the YouTube video in your blog.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started to do it very slowly years ago, you started to get traffic. So that positive reinforcement essentially did the following. Instead of being a Luddite who eschewed technology, I wasn't Amish, like I still lived in the modern world. I still used the internet for research, but I wasn't really a big fan of technology. It was
Yeah.
kind of a push back against it.
Mm-hmm.
I started to actually go the opposite direction. And one of the things that did finally click for me is I had learned the bulk of what I knew about organic gardening, vermicomposting from the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It had essentially allowed me to like preserve and continue education about things that I thought were great because I could find these little niche communities to learn things, about those subjects.
Right.
So we were in a situation where when I started to get positive reinforcement from clients, in other words, I was getting clients, I was getting students, things were, developing. I just continue to try to maximize that potential. So now I have a very different mindset. And Ray Kurzweil's book, "The Singularity is Near," was a real benchmark in my development because Ray Kurzweil had the capacity in the book to lay out technological development and explain this uptick and sort of chart out what was going on so that it made sense in an incremental way so that I had a bigger picture of its development. I mean, if you look at
Mm-hmm.
popular culture and what people think about technology, the last Terminator film just came out.
Yeah.
AI goes berserk, Skynet. You
Mm-hmm.
look at the Matrix, AI goes berserk, takes over. I don't really look at things that way. I mean, I think those are wonderful films. I love those. But
Mm-hmm.
for its reality, the internet is allowing you and I, with a little bit of equipment, this is my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I had understood this in like 1990,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because we had ideas, we'd seen Star Trek, but we didn't know this was going to develop, so rapidly.
Yeah.
I could have like charted my life in a slightly different way to deal with those advances, but I think a lot of our challenges are coming from the fact, as an overall economy in the United States, that artificial intelligence and robotics and technology is basically eating industries, and it
Mm-hmm.
might not be eating massage as an industry specifically, because I still have to deliver that hands on. At the same time, it's eating all the stuff around it. It's
Yeah.
eating business cards, it's eating communication, it's eating online scheduling.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a quick early break here and let the ad run real quick. Just a short short break. All right. So this is Trent Knox. I'm the behind the scenes podcast producer for Robert Gardner Wellness usually, but I hopped in on at this time. We had a guest that we had some trouble getting connected onto the show, so we decided to come in here and we are taking calls during this live show. It's 512-539-0442. If you have any questions for Robert Gardner, give us a call and we will have you on the show. So you your experience with the internet, and finding out that it has become somewhere that you can utilize as a marketplace. Let's talk about, I guess, I think that a lot of people at this time, the controversy with what we did last week with the podcast and talking about more controversial subjects in the now, why are we seeing kind of this question of your validity happening? Why are we seeing people say,
Me?
yeah, you in particular, as in saying like, you're not an apprentice of someone who's from Thailand. You're not a
Yeah,
traditionalist, and also they don't see you as particularly an educator because of your methodology, your, I guess they would say modality of the way that you teach. In that
yeah,
the way that you teach, the mode that you teach in is ask me a question and I'll give you an answer, rather than ask. I'll ask you a question and you tell me the answer.
yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, but in the end, traditional educational structures are breaking down. We
Mm-hmm.
talked about technology eating industries. Universities are in trouble. Universities are charging more, and the
Mm-hmm.
value of their education is going down.
Right.
That's a fact. That's Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even Ivy League schools. The difference is I started using technology to teach and share what I did understand. I don't have even a bachelor's degree. I dropped out of college because I was in chronic pain from a car accident. I didn't go through the usual channels to be able to share, teach, and develop what I do.
Mm-hmm.
My workbooks and DVDs, I have an entire set of 4 workbooks and, 4 DVD sets on Thai massage. These are
Mm-hmm.
not published, these are self published.
Right.
The challenge is we have the technology to do that now, and when I put myself out there and I'm a leading educator, people are like kind of like sort of they get to a point where they're like, we don't like you, we don't like what you're saying. And it's like, yes, I'm not programmed the way everybody else is programmed in school. I dealt with, as a philosophy student, deprogramming myself.
Yeah.
I ask questions. It's what I do, it's what I do best. Let's go. Now, it doesn't mean I know everything. I'm very open, very transparent. The challenge is the internet gives me distribution and other people don't want to take advantage of it. When people act like Thai massage came from the Buddha and came from the father, Dr. Jivaka, and it's been handed down as an unbroken lineage, they want to know, who did I study with? Well, my original teacher of Thai massage does not want to be contacted. She no longer does Thai massage. She doesn't want to talk about Thai massage. So I don't talk about her because as things grow, I don't want people contacting her and making my life hell, making her angry.
Yeah.
So what happened was, in a weird way, it was frustrating because I didn't have lineage,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
I could talk about this more in length, but not having lineage in Thai massage is like verboten. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
not done. This is a bodywork tradition, if you want to call it that, that essentially comes from a religious tradition,
Mm-hmm.
Theravada Buddhism. So for me to step out and start teaching, even if I had my teacher's permission, which I did, it still feels to them like I don't have control of the lineage. And I'm like, listen, you guys go teach whatever you want to teach. It's cool. You can say my shit is crap. It doesn't matter. You have access to the same technology I have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go out and teach and share the stuff I do.
Yeah.
There will be a challenge because they don't understand if they've not been following me. We tried to rebrand under a new name so I can stop talking about Thai massage.
Yeah.
I've developed beyond Thai massage. I adapted things. I made it easier on my body, on and on and on. The challenge is they have a tradition that they're trying to uphold. Now,
Right.
what does technology do with traditions? It disrupts them, which is the nature of the beast. Like Americans who are studying Buddhism, like listen to the Dalai Lama, listen to Thich Nhat Hanh, listen to Zen, listen to Suzuki, the DT Suzuki. They mix and match and blend because that's what Americans do. That's
Right.
essentially what I've done with massage and bodywork. That's just the end of the story. I think people are angry because I put myself up as a leading educator in the massage industry, and they're like, "Who appointed you?" And I'm like, "I did."
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is no gatekeeper anymore. The
Right.
gatekeepers are dying. That's what I'm saying about universities. Like, you can learn most of the stuff that you're trying to learn probably on YouTube if you're willing to dig.
Yeah.
So the whole culture at large is dealing with these information distribution issues. It's like you need a you need to be a CPA to be an accountant. Do you
Yeah.
need a CPA to be a bookkeeper?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? Like you can learn all the stuff, but it's like if you used to be able to go to law school, you could go and be a lawyer if you just went and took the bar. You could just go take the bar exam, and if you pass the bar exam, congratulations, you're a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Now they force you to go through law school.
Yeah.
You can't just go take the bar. You have to have the degree. And see, that's the thing. There's a gatekeeper thing that I just completely eschew. I just don't think it's beneficial, especially in an industry like mine where you're essentially just dealing with muscle manipulation. Like
So I'm gonna make a
it's a very
probably I'm gonna I'm
strict
gonna
skill.
I'm gonna make a probably super controversial uh, assimilation to massage. Um, you know, a lot of people in the hip hop industry want to say that it is a black art, and it is only a black art. So that's your physical. That's your. It's almost like, the Black Panthers are the only people who can do hip hop. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's that, and then it's almost like they did the documentary A Black Klansman. Okay, so if you're white, you can only be in the KKK. So do they seem to understand that sort of behavior, that behavior of the mindset, is the same as being a Nazi? So this belief system that you pass down based on the spoken word, that's the only thing that validates you based on a lineage that's not, you know, ethnically related? Or do they still want to hold Thai massage as ethnically and uh, cognitively, you have to be
So to
in
me,
that?
there's issues of cultural appropriation. There's issues of historical fact. There's issues of culture. These things will continue to be an issue for years to come. When you talk about hip hop, the challenge is, did it start essentially in, like, I would say New York, in like the African American sort of community? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge is as it continues to grow and evolve, as I've seen, because I was born in '77, so I got to see some of the evolution of hip hop over the course of my lifetime. As an art form, it continues to develop and evolve. And how do we say who has an impact on it?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the arguments you see of people attacking me online for teaching Thai massage,
Mm-hmm.
they're as white as I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's never
Okay.
somebody who's Thai. I've never had somebody who's Thai contact me and say, hey, you're not supposed to be teaching this. You aren't Thai. You were not trained by someone who is Thai. You have culturally appropriated somebody's, healing art.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what happens. I get someone who's trying to be the gatekeeper, who's as white as I am, saying, you can't do that. You didn't study with people in Thailand. And I say, okay, but my teacher studied with people in Thailand. I
Yeah.
represented something that has already happened in the yoga community. Because
Mm-hmm.
when people say, what do you mean you teach Thai massage and you've never been to Thailand? I'm like, well, I teach yoga and I've never been to India.
Yeah.
And they get angry because what happened is yoga, yes, is initially an Indian art form.
Mm-hmm.
It is from Indian and Hindu culture. It has been translated into the West. And Westerners now, there are more people in the West doing yoga
Mm-hmm.
than in India. Is yoga long term? Is it Indian or is it Western now?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a controversial discussion argument because people like me are having an influence on how hatha yoga is practiced in the West. That process is still in its early stages with Thai massage. I represented a sort of benchmark for that, in my opinion. I'm very outspoken, not gatekeeper sort of teacher, and I went here. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
basics of the biomechanics of Thai massage. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then when I say, listen, traditional Thai massage teachers and people in Thailand are going to make more money because we're promoting the practice in the United States and the overall pie grows in size. I'm not taking their slice.
Yeah.
I'm just teaching, trying to help people. I've got an entire industry of massage therapists whose hands are falling off, who don't make enough money.
Yeah.
We can talk about cultural appropriation, but I grew up in South Louisiana, and I use this in class in relation to food. Gumbo. Is gumbo a European dish? Is it an African dish? Or is it a Caribbean dish? That's what hip hop is. Hip hop is a uniquely American art form. Yes. Should we give credit and history to the people that created it? Absolutely. But what does it evolve into?
Mm-hmm.
How does it influence popular music? And in that case, if you flip it into Thai massage, how does Thai massage develop and adapt in the United States? What is an American form of Thai massage? To traditionalists, that is completely verboten. That is
So
completely, yeah.
we have Erica Skivela us. Maybe I can't read that right, but she says, "I'm just glad we have Thai yoga teachers and practitioners in the West. Period. Everybody wins." So,
Yeah.
okay. So, from there was a question in my head about this was essentially, did massage yoga in any other definition or word that they used exist in other cultures? The Native American culture? Did it exist in the Northern Asian cultures? Did it exist in Russia? Did it exist
It depends.
other way
It
places?
it
Body work, I
depends. It
guess.
depends on how you define those things.
Okay.
Once you get into definitions, because okay, in the West, yoga is hatha yoga, the physical yoga. In India, yoga is a much bigger thing,
Broader
of
definition.
which we've taken a sliver.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like hip hop. Is hip hop breakdancing?
Yeah. Well, under the KRS
Tag,
definition, yes.
tag, tagging walls, spray painting.
Yes.
Because that's a bigger part of the history of hip hop, but the stuff that's going to be preserved, in most likelihood, is the
Mm-hmm.
music itself. And that's the same thing in traditional Thai massage. There's a broader spectrum within its own culture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking a sliver of it and going, hey guys, let's use this. Just like they took a sliver of hatha yoga and said, hey guys, let's use this.
Mm-hmm.
This is beneficial to us. This helps.
Yeah.
I'm not against people doing research or studying with other teachers. Like, I'm very open about this. You said something about me having students ask questions. teachers operate in different ways. What I don't tend to do is I don't prop myself up like I'm some sort of guru figure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have the lineage that comes down from the Buddha. I'm a little more enlightened than the people around me, and I'm going to share this information with you underlings. No, I absolutely eschew that entire behavior. That's
Mm-hmm.
just not, it doesn't appeal to me. I find it abhorrent, morally and ethically. What
Okay.
I do is I say, listen, I was taught Thai massage by a Westerner who gave me the foundation and allowed me to improvise. As I continued to improvise in isolation, I kept changing and tweaking it and making it fitting my body to where I still think it's extremely high caliber work, but it's not traditional. I'm a yoga teacher too. I'm mixing and matching and blending things to be able to help people with their physical bodies. I'm happy to rebrand and move on. My trademark was declined. When the trademark is declined, I have to fall back on what I did before, which is Thai massage.
Mm-hmm.
The practice will continue to evolve. Westerners will continue to have their effect upon it. And it's an exceedingly complex issue that I think is maybe similar to what you're mentioning with hip hop. It's like talking about who owns an art form, who's allowed to change an art form. It just goes on and on and on. I just look at it and went, okay, I don't think people are understanding the fact that when they say, well, you can just go to Thailand. If you are an American who is able to afford to go to Thailand so you can have lineage,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have a lot of money. There is a
Yeah.
class issue. Like I tell people, I'm like, listen, I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. When you watch footage from Hurricane Katrina, those are my relatives. Poverty. Like I didn't have enough money to go to Thailand to be able to, like, I have Thai massage teachers contact me rudely and say, when are you going to Thailand? And I'm like, when I can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're asking me to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to go to another country to experience their healing art in its native environment. I don't think they understand the economic and class issues they're dealing with.
Hmm. Hmm. So before we jumped on this podcast, I was listening to the Jay-Z Eminem collaboration Renegade, and you know I wanted to have a portion of this podcast speak on the fact that that podcasting to a degree is a competitive art form, something like battle rap, you know. And you as a creator, massage, creating podcasts, me as a creator in podcasting in esports would be like the flavor, I guess, and sometimes uh, it can get to a space where you're the only one doing that thing, and you you need an arena to compete in. So at times podcasting can become kind of frustrating when there's not somebody at the caliber to battle rap with you, you know. So you end up, and I think a lot of cases, talking to people that they're not trying to change the industry of massage. They think they're not making any money not changing the massage. They're them being high and mighty saying you have to come down this lineage of massage therapists. They're not making any money from it. So what's the value in it at all? And people want to, I was thinking to myself, okay, so somebody wants to argue against capitalism being derived from the United States as a cultural phenomenon, but it's not like we haven't had monetary systems around the world. So what are you waking up and getting paid in hugs? I mean, like, how are people effectively creating businesses to to financially to have financial stability and be proactive in their business, massage industry? And regardless of your definition, and however you're being pretentious about that definition, and that's why I said that way, is Robert offers a alternative to the traditional system that is affordable to most people. And that how did you get to that place? how did you get to the point where
So
you're like subscription, the ability to mass, to
so
scale?
here was the bottom line. Listen. I was in chronic pain, and when I
Mm-hmm.
say I was in chronic pain, like I don't think people fully understand the story. I was hit by a drunk driver in 1999. I had a horrible whiplash. The medical community took X-rays and said you're fine. There's nothing wrong. And I said I need drugs. I'm in pain. I'm in horrible pain. You don't understand. I hurt. And they said, well, there's nothing wrong with you. We can't give you pain medication. You're going to become addicted to it. And I'm like, so what do I do? And basically, that's where I took that philosophical bent and flipped it into massage, because massage was the only thing that seemed to make me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
As I kept digging, I kept digging, I kept digging, because I had to get better. When I'm sick, I have a really internally vested interest in getting better.
Mm-hmm.
As I found things that helped me get better, I said, oh, well, I can teach this to other people. I can share this information with other people. I got into yoga. I got into Thai massage. I was using this active thing that I do to myself, and I was using this passive thing that people do to me, and I was putting them together. I was improving, and I kept teaching. And here's what happened: every facility I worked in blocked me. They would not allow me to do Thai massage. They would not allow me to put in a mat. It didn't matter that it was easier on my body. It didn't matter that it was more effective. They're like, no, that is not massage. That is not what our customers are paying for. And I was like, you are going to get the fuck out of my way, and I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't, like, in other words, this is what I'm going to do. Now, you're going to either come with me or you're going to get left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it. And I had to do it incrementally, the same way you break down a wall. You go under it, over it, around it, or through it by butting your head against it until the brakes break down. I just decided to do it. And once I kept going, what I realized was Thai massage was completely unknown. I live in
Mm-hmm.
Central Texas. There were no Thai massage practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was all Swedish and deep tissue. It was all what the local schools were teaching. Thai massage did not exist. I called my teacher and said, yo, teach, listen, I want to teach this. And she
Mm-hmm.
was a little taken aback, because I'd been much more kind of maybe shy, not as confident when I was studying with her.
Okay.
But after years of practice on my own with what she had taught me, continuing to refine it and refine it and refine it, she was like, oh, Robert, you took, oh my God, like how many classes were you a teaching assistant? Like, it. You're a yoga teacher. I've worked with you. She's like, go. And she said, just make your own workbook. And that was where the initial, like, oh, okay, yeah, now I can make a little workbook. So as I continued developing, I realized I was never going to be able to meet consumer demand. The way that I could meet consumer demand was to teach. And by teaching, you're taking the therapist and training them to work on more people, so the work expands.
Mm-hmm.
I just decided this was what I was going to do. It feels to me a lot like, Eminem. What did Eminem think as a young white guy, getting involved in rap and hip hop? It's like, no, he had a dream and this is what he wanted to do, and you were going to get out of his way. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'm white. I'm going to have to battle that. Okay. He doesn't have lineage. He's not black. He's, whatever. It's like he just decided to do it. And here was the thing: nobody cared that I was giving away a free workbook for 8 years. Nobody cared that I had a table tie workbook and a DVD set for 6 years. It's only now that we continue to grow that people are like, stop this guy. And I'm like, stop me from what? It's like basically you just have haters.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there are people who don't like Eminem. Eminem doesn't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I just need enough fans to be able to keep going. I represent something that's completely unheard of in the Western marketplace. Mat based clothes on bodywork represents less than 1%. It's got to, of the overall massage marketplace. My practice is a statistical anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I literally look at students and I'm like, listen, I'm arrogant, I'm brash, I'm rude, I'm gross, I'm this, I'm that, I'm arrogant. It's like, and if I make a living doing this, imagine how much you can do as an attractive woman
Mm-hmm.
who is nice and kind. It's like I offer an alternative, and that's what the problem is. Everybody's still interacting with the industry like it's still what it was in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
There are options. There are differences in practices. I started Massage Entrepreneurs, and again, I'm just stubborn. I knew that I had something that was of quality that I could sell in the marketplace. I could continue teaching and sharing. But there is some antagonism because I represent a very different mindset than what you're getting from massage school.
Yeah.
Like I just don't interact with that. It's like if you had a superior product or service, why can't you go sell it?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about that after we run back from break. So real quick break. See you guys on the other side. All right, we're back from break. This is the Robert Gardner Wellness Podcast. I am the producer, Trent Knox, alongside the host, Robert Gardner. We're currently taking live calls, so if you want to call in, 512-539-0442. And if you're listening to this on the podcast version, feel free to leave a comment, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. So before the break, we were talking about essentially what the bricks were as you were building the house that you are currently living in, and as you progress from the the physical work that you did in massage and body work and having aspects of Thai massage, but your whole practice was not Thai massage. It had aspects of it as a sliver, as you said, in input into your work, and you studied from other versions of massage as well, Swedish and other places like that. Then you were able to take that and your practice that you built in person. Then you moved it on to online, and as in online, you started working on workbooks and whatnot. And you were saying that they weren't agitated. They didn't think that you were doing something wrong, and I'm not sure that they think you're doing it wrong now. They just want to regulate it in ways to this is how it's supposed to be done, even though they don't know what this is how what this is. So and we're not saying that we know what this is. We will only know, after we're long and gone, they'll know what we did. You know what I mean? Just so much as I'm sure that in the time of the Buddha, they didn't know what was going on. They were like, "What is this guy sitting around trees saying things about how you're supposed to live your life? This guy must be crazy," you know? But then
Yeah.
in practicality, long way down the road, even Jesus himself was thinking about the Buddha, and even Gandhi himself was thinking about the Buddha, and that sort of thing was being passed along as traditions change. But it kind of is like strange how Western European people, even Africans at this time, aren't going and saying cultural appropriation, but we see that from demographics in the southern Asian countries, from the northern Asian countries.
Now, when we talk about though, you have to understand, okay? One of my colleagues is half Thai,
Okay,
and
yeah.
she wrote me privately and she said, Robert, I read some of those threads online. That is the most absurd shit I have ever read.
Mhm.
She's like, all of those people who are saying that you culturally appropriate Thai massage are as white as you are.
Mhm.
She's like, I'm half Thai. Like, I work with you, I study with you.
Mhm.
She's like, nobody from Thailand is criticizing you for what you've done. And I'm like, I know, but I have to, tread cautiously in how I handle these things
Mhm.
because it's only white people who are trying to be the gatekeepers who are trying to say, no, 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 the tradition only and lineage only goes through us.
I don't know if that I see. I have a different perspective because I think it is, in it is a combination of the multiculturalism being looking downward, and in that the there is a Anglo-Saxon aspect of massage, but that doesn't. The only reason why they're doing that is to troll. There's no. They're not. They're trying to prevent you from being successful monetarily, not from spreading the word of Thai massage. The the bigger problem I think is that in the reverse, they don't want to see themselves as the culture vultures. They don't want to see themselves as appropriating white culture. So when you get Southeast Asian or African or Northern Asian or Middle Eastern people taking over jobs in America, do they say do we say that they're culturally appropriating capitalism?
I think the challenge is, this is my guess very quickly, and I'm not an expert on these. When it comes to appropriation, it has to do with punching up or punching down
Mm-hmm.
from an elevated financial and social status. Are white people reaching into other cultures and basically stealing things and saying it's their own? Because it's a power dynamic. Like, people in Thailand might not have access to the resources I have to be able to create a podcast and have the education I
And I'd
have
say
or
that's
whatever.
horseshit. That's horseshit.
Well, I mean, we could, but the thing is, I
Yeah.
think appropriation generally, that's how it works. Generally, it's a power dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
We can argue about that and probably go on about it forever. I have to be clear. Like, in my first workbook, the workbook is free, by the way. I give it away. I
Mm-hmm.
basically thank the Buddha, I thank the Father, Dr. Jivaka, and I thank the people of Thailand. And I say, listen, let's get to work. Let's go ahead and start the process of like opening this work in the West and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Am I irritated when my students leave and go study with traditional teachers? No. Am I irritated when my students go, I want to go to Thailand? I'm like, go,
Mm-hmm.
please.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to help more people. I'm not trying to say it's mine. I'm trying to say, listen, this is what I know of Thai massage. I think this stuff is beneficial here. Nobody gets mad when I give it away for free. Nobody gets mad that I have a YouTube channel. When I start to make money, then they go, oh, he stole this. And I'm like, wait, hold on. So the Thai massage jam I've been running in Austin for 5 years, no, 5 years, 8 years, it's $5. And you're angry at me because I'm charging for it? That's ludicrous.
I think that people are more. It's less about the the historical cultural aspect, and they're just frustrated because they have social anxiety. I think everyone seems to be frustrated with other people who are better at making friends or being friendly, and it seems that these people who hold the Buddha in high regard don't hold also his methods in high regard, in his the way that he treated other people. It's like they don't see that what they're saying is has negative connotations. They don't see that it is the barrier or blockade or obstacle to progress or innovation.
A lot of people's behavior towards people is based on how they feel. When some teacher or someone who does Thai massage sees me on a podcast, sees me in video, sees me regularly, how do they feel about themselves sitting on a couch doing almost nothing?
Well, I don't.
Haters just don't like the fact that somebody else is doing something.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like it is, and that's the end of the story. It's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not about Buddhism, it's not about culture, it's not even about cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
It just, I decided to take the little bit that I understood, go out and teach, share, help people. That's what the
Right.
Buddha did, by the way. He had some information, he decided to go out, teach, share, and help people. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. He gave him the four noble truths and the eightfold path, and said, hey, like, I joke about this sometimes. It's like, if Facebook Live had been available whenever the Buddha achieved enlightenment, would the Buddha have like set up his tripod and pressed a button on his phone and like delivered the four noble truths and the eightfold path on social media? Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, what we have to deal with in 2019 is, what would the Buddha tweet? And
And
that's what
it,
they
it
don't understand.
but at the same time, In contrast, so would have Genghis Khan, so would
Yes.
have the Taoist temple. I can't think of the right word right now, but the leaders in
Yeah.
the Taoist temple, Taoist,
Yeah.
everyone would have done that because it would have spread the message. Now, do we see the Pope doing that? Yes. Do we see the president doing that? Yes. Well, then the question is why aren't you doing it?
Me or
No,
them?
not you, but the people that are frustrated with the fact that you're being progressive.
Because they traditionalists feel like this tradition is only passed down from teacher to student, one on one in person.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That does.
Only.
Yeah, no. Yeah. But then they should adversely understand that the words that are being used, are not the thing. So, in many ways, the vocabulary that they choose to use, should it not be in the native tongue?
Well, the printing press led to the Protestant Reformation. The internet and the technology we're using is going to do things that are going to dwarf the Protestant Reformation.
Right.
That's what we're dealing with. Was
Yeah.
it okay to translate the Bible from Latin to whatever the local language was in Germany? That was a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
Led to the Protestant Reformation, the printing press, that technology.
Yes.
That's essentially what's going on now because Robert Gardner has a subscription with 424 hours of his classes.
But you're not walking around saying that you're saying this is time massage, but I'm not here to validate you in their system. That's not what this is about. I don't
No,
think you're going around saying that. So
no.
what are they frustrated about?
They're frustrated that I'm doing things and they don't like it.
Okay.
And it
Well,
sucks to be a hater. I mean, really, I feel sorry for you. It must really suck to like see a pasty white guy,
doing
like
things.
you think, like,
Yeah.
sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with it. Like, I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah.
It's like I only have so much time. I'm here to ease suffering,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I do. And the thing is, just from a traditionalist, and this is a theoretical thing, one of the fundamental breaks I had with the traditional time massage community as I started to learn more from interaction with other teachers was they're like, no, tradition, tradition, tradition. And I said, what about science? And they said, no, tradition. And I said, I want nothing to do with what you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that traditional healthcare in the Buddhist time was just to let people die because we didn't have antibiotics? I think antibiotics are good. I think antibiotics ease suffering. And they say, no, tradition. And I'm like, no. Like I've literally seen on traditional Thai massage forums somebody say, "Hey, somebody has a sinus infection. What herbs should we use?" And I wanted to lose my mind and go, "Listen, first, this person has an infection near their brain. I think we should put them on antibiotics first. We know that works. There's a consistent methodology here. Then we can talk about what herbs we want them to take." Like, I don't that this is ludicrous to me. It's not because I think herbs are bad or traditional medicine is bad. It's just that question goes to the heart of what the issue is. The practice of Buddhism has to evolve. It has to, or it dies. All things have to evolve. Okay, they have to change, they have to develop. That includes time massage. I took the biomechanics, which I think completely work, and I looked at pain science. I talked to Walt Fritz. I talked to other educators. I talked to Jason Erickson and started to go, well, I know that the physical application works, but why does it work? And the more I did that, the more it was like, this isn't traditional. And I'm like, I was never trying to be traditional. I don't know what this focus on tradition is or why you think tradition is so good. It's like as an American, I hate to say this, but traditionally slavery was okay. Like we change, we evolve, we develop ethically and morally. Those things are aberrant to us now. It's the same thing. Like, Buddhism was only, in my knowledge, to like essentially taught primarily to men. Men were monks, not women. Now that's changed in time. Yoga was only taught to men, not women. Those things change. Am I saying we shouldn't teach women? No, 80% of the massage industry in the United States is women. Like it's a different place, it's a different culture, it's a different time. If people don't like what I'm doing, great. Don't like what I'm doing. Why are you wasting time being irritated at me when you can go out and help people?
I don't know. I think that's a mic drop right there. But at the same point in time, we need to give it its air there, and we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Robert Gardner Wellness. All right, we're back. This is Trent Knox, podcast producer for Robert Gardner Wellness, and we have your host, Robert Gardner, in the house. If you would like to be on the show, this is the last 15 minutes. We might go a little bit longer. For the podcast, you can call in at 512-539-0442 and ask your questions from Robert Gardner. Get your massage and body work, your yoga, your Pilates, anything in the health and wellness industry. Robert will like to answer your questions. Even if you have just a random question about Rick and Morty, come on in and ask the question, and we will figure it out. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to ask me as a videographer or someone who studies the video game, my perspective on something that maybe you're looking into or something like that.
So when it comes to video production, you know more about the insides, like the inner workings, than I do.
Mm-hmm.
I just look at it as a consumer almost. I mean, I produce, but it's almost like I don't need to know exactly how the camera works from a physics standpoint to be able to produce art with it. What do people not understand about what is coming technologically with cameras, about video production, about live streaming, for instance? Because live streaming is sort of a different art than post production. Like I think you saw The Irishman recently on Netflix. You know, Scorsese and those guys are editing that footage after the fact, like to every little detail. Like they get the actors to do stuff, but they're like scripting it together, putting it together. I watched it for the second time and noticed like new things and how it was, put together as a piece of art. Live streaming, it's like unscripted in some ways. It's improvisational, I think, by its very nature. What are some of the things people don't understand about video production in 2019?
Okay, I would like to tie this into something that you said at the Time Massage Jam. So if anybody wants to go back and look at the video on demand of 2 days ago's Time Massage Jam, Robert mentioned that the reason why, in many ways, that he does video production is to document his process, so that if someone were to come in and say, "Hey, you said this way," to come back and say, I've been on camera. Here's the truth. This is what I said, and this is the proof that I said it this way." So that's one of the reasons. It's almost in some ways going to be your defense in the court of public opinion. So I think that's one of the benefits for anybody who is an influencer in an industry or somebody who is creating content for a hobby or anything like that. I think this kind of ties into some of the bigger conversations about Epstein and the royal family and things that maybe they just didn't have their own Scorsese changing things and painting the picture for them. So if I was to put it maybe in simpler terms, or try and bring it down to a elementary level for people, and then I'll take that and paint a bigger picture here. The way that we consume videos, because I see myself as a consumer as well as a producer, is through systems that aren't really built for the future. Even I say that, which basically means that any technology that we have today will not be anywhere near what we have in the future and have the feature capability that we will have in 20 years. But For some of us, we were trained by our father or our mother how to operate the television remote. Basically, a lot of what happens is that as we were growing up, we were either told to throw the directions out the window or we were told to hold the directions. And in my case, I like to read those technical manuals. And I would find out about certain features on a remote that allowed me to do something that the majority of people didn't understand. And that's how I look at live streaming now. Is I read the manual for live streaming. Nobody's using the feature on the camera. They're doing post-production work where they're not looking to figure out how they can do that production in the moment. So as we develop and our screens become more and more connected, they call this the Internet of Things, IoT devices, we will start to have more access to information in real time. Most of the information, like you're talking about the Irishman, Irishman or a man, is it's already out of date. The data that we're learning from that story is come and gone. The thing that they are doing with Netflix, which is vastly different than what we've seen before, and some people will eventually call this the Mandela effect of things, is that they are producing multiple versions of the video, and they're able to see through analytics what parts are doing well and what parts are not doing well based on audience retention rate. So then if they think that a certain portion of the movie is too slow or too fast, they can just insert words or new scenes into the video along the timeline. Now, that's pretty crazy. Like in terms of how it used to be, where people have been complaining, like they think that there was this movie called Shazam or this movie called I forget what they call it, but the movie with Sinbad in it that doesn't exist anymore. Or they talk about how in the movie Forrest Gump, he said this word this way. But what they're able to do with new technology is adjust to what the majority of people remember. So what this technology is doing is, in one way, live video, which I'm sure in the future they'll have, more powerful quantum computers in order to, in the moment, switch the language of the way that people communicate. But at this time, live streaming is the only thing that seems to me to be authentic. What I mean by that is that there's nothing to it that there's nothing that taints the message, and the only way that it can be misconstrued is by perception or understanding, and that's individual. That's based on the individual. It's not based on a hive mind or based off of a collective consciousness. It's based off of an internal consciousness. So that particularly live video provides that authenticity, provides that real thing. But at the same point in time, that technology can be negated through regulation by something that's currently happening in the U.S. Congress and in international courts, when Mark Zuckerberg sits before these ambassadors, lawmakers, and basically fights to figure out whether or not these live streaming platforms are actually publishers. Because what they're doing at this time is these platforms are dictating who they decide will be successful by metrics on the platform. they the publishing aspect. Hold on one second. We're getting a caller, so I'm gonna see if they want to come on the show. Let's see. Hello, you're on the Robert Gardner Wellness Podcast. Nope. No answer. Okay, so as I was saying, that the technology is it takes someone who is the understanding at this time takes somebody who has both a spiritual desire, someone who's looking for answers. That's the way what I see as a spiritual sense. It takes a logical mindset, which means that you're also willing to answer questions, and it also takes an emotional standpoint because you need to understand how you feel about the things that you're doing, whether that's watching videos, listening to music, doing massage. Is this what you want to do with your life? Is this how you want to live your life? Is this the thing that you want to do for the rest of your life? And so I think that as technology kind of grows, and as one of the aspects is that we're going to see where we're selling intelligence, the human intelligence, to an artificial intelligence rather than a just human intelligence based. Let's see if we can get this guy on the phone. Hello, you're on the Robert Gardner Wellness Podcast. Hello. Sorry, I think you're calling the wrong number. This is this is Trent, not John. Hold on. It's not John. Somebody was worried about their stash. They were worried about their stash and concerned that John may smoke up their stash. And this is why we don't direct the phone calls directly into the podcast, so that people don't incriminate themselves and get themselves in trouble. Um, and I think that what's wild is that people will not do their research. After having listened to that conversation, I realized that there a lot of people won't look into Robert's history and actually do their research because they're whether they're superficial, pretentious, or they just want to get a razz out of someone. They're not going to look into their history and if you would like to hear about my history, you can just Google my name and then you'll find the reason why I'm having these conversations with people like Robert and other people who are in other industries about technology. Because much like Robert, I don't idolize or hold fantasy to the old world. I don't have any. I mean, not that I don't disrespect elders, or not that I don't respect elders. I just think they're just as young as I was, or they feel, they're as they progress, they're just learning. They're learning new things as well, and nowhere during the timeline of your human existence do you know it all. You may be 70% sufficient in a certain industry, but in order for you to improve or innovate, you have to do things like I do. We're going to other industries and listen to the thought leaders in that space, and then pull that mantra into your own system. And I think these people who get frustrated or hate on, people like myself or Robert who aren't uh, married to the idea of, I would say, like, oligarchy, um, then they're just gonna hate. They're just gonna be a part of the system at all times. They'll never create a system of their own. They'll just stay on that track, and as if they just stay on that one track and do those loops again, there's going to be a certain demographic of people like themselves or maybe unlike themselves who appreciate that art form of loops and loops and loops and loops and loops and repetitive things. But the changes come from a loop and then a line, loop, line, and different formulas to create new things. And I guess I'm trying to explain in multiple different ways, through music, through painting, through construction, through different the way that people speak languages. And we could just be talking, pretentiously all the time. We could talk about lavish parties, Lamborghinis. We could be talking about spas that you want to go to. We could be talking about luxury relaxing all the time. But what does that really do for the world at large? That's a very small demographic of people. So do I look up to the Scorseses, the Spielbergs, the J.J. Abrams, the Danny Boyles of the world? Yes, but they don't pay my bills. What pays my bills is the blue collar, the kid that has a dream, the practicality, and maybe one day myself particularly, I'll be have the chance to, and this is just to throw shade a little bit, make a movie in Bollywood, but that's just like, that just seems pretentious to me, and I'm only really doing that is to throw shade at Hollywood by saying Bollywood. So what is it like? I mean, in your initial question, and I like to give a long format answer so that people can pick and choose and figure out, but everyone arrives at the same answer, is that technology is just going to like you said, disrupt, but it's also going to simplify everything that we do on a daily basis, whether that's eating a sandwich, whether that's walking the dog. It's just going to be completely changing what we do. And the cameras and the music, I should say audio, so the visual, the audio, and the written word are in a in a revolution of sorts, but they always have been. You talked about the printing press. It's just you got to use the tools. And I'm not for me, I'm not against reading the manuals, but I'm also not against breaking the manuals. I'm not against using the tool for a rule, a use case that the creator didn't know existed.
The technology allows new ways of connecting and disseminating information. End of story. It's going to do whatever it does. When it comes to the sense of freedom, where Zuckerberg and people are, they can argue whether Facebook has a monopoly, whether this, that, and the other. The long arc, Martin Luther King Jr. would say, is towards justice. And I think it's also towards freedom. More freedom, more capacity to distribute, less control in some ways.
Mm-hmm. And I think adding to that is that you have to love what you do. So if you're a massage therapist or a body worker or yoga out there and you don't love it, why are you doing it? You know, um, I not to say that being frustrated doesn't mean give up. Like you're, you know, I think that that's the thing is like I'm frustrated with videographers. I think that some of them, particularly, you know, because I kind of level up and I guess or change what I do in certain ways is I'm frustrated because everybody thinks that they gotta start off with a silver spoon. You know, not I didn't. I mean, yes, in some ways, like I was born in America, that's a silver spoon, but I'd sell that away just to make a new America every day. And I think that that's what our founding fathers were 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 looking for was that the citizens would be changing things and be innovative and not regressive. And I think that a lot of the current way that the haters versus the lovers, if that's the haters, they want to go back to the old system, but they didn't like the old system. So why do they want to go to the old
Well,
system?
the reason they want to go back, the reason, if I can make a very potentially hated quote, the reason they want to make America great again is this might be horribly racist and backwards, but at least it's what we know. It feels very comfortable to just lean on tradition and history instead of allowing things to develop and evolve in ways that we don't know what's going on. I think that's what it is. Change
Huh.
is scary. Change is scary.
I don't look at it that way. I don't look at it that way. I don't know why. I understand why people look at, you know, something like that. The Make America Great Again, is some sort of like past tense functionality. I look at it as future tense. I don't look at it as past tense. And I also don't see what they see as far as, you know, as far as the results of it are concerned. Because the results would argue that it's more progressive than it is regressive. The opportunities for people have only gotten larger.
When it comes to a slogan like that,
Yeah.
that slogan isn't a debate. How does that quote, "Make America Great Again," how does it make people feel?
I think a small demographic of people feel that they need to create a fire to incite violence from the from an individual society that isn't the society that the mainstream media wants to call it. So I don't see it as Anglo-Saxon. I see it as uh, Eastern belief systems. And those Eastern belief systems are the ones that want to retroactively take themselves back to a feudalist system.
I think in our age, technological disruption is happening so fast
Mm-hmm.
that societies are incapable of keeping up, which induces a huge degree of anxiety in people.
Yeah.
And there's a subset of people who will say they're generally more conservative
Mm-hmm.
or they're generally more liberal.
Okay. Yeah.
People who are generally speaking, not Republican, not Democrat, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Generally more conservative people, sometimes they're afraid, in my experience, they have anxiety about change
Mm-hmm.
because it's like it might not be perfect, but at least this is more understood. If we change too rapidly, too fast,
Mm-hmm.
everything could go to hell and it feels like impermanence holds sway and nobody knows what's going on. It
Mm-hmm.
might not be perfect, but at least from this conservative standpoint, it's more secure. Whereas on the other hand, I think people who are more liberal in a mindset, maybe, then we could argue about this, they're maybe more open to change because they consider this bad enough that almost anything would be better.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
And I think that doesn't have to do with campaign slogans. That's a bigger picture problem, which is
The
what I think
Trump, the Trump,
gentrification of Austin
sure.
is a good example, and that while we have larger high rises growing, we have homeless people moving in front of on the sidewalks of business, small business. So, when does the dog not eat its own tail? Like that's the question. You can be
Either
liberal,
way,
you can be conservative.
either way, doesn't matter. I get frustrated, and I'm willing to discuss Democrat, Republican,
Yeah,
conservative, progressive, conservative, liberal, whatever.
yeah,
I'm willing to discuss those things. In the end, how do we choose to behave? I tend to
true.
choose to behave on the side of what I think of as justice, liberty, growth, change, development as being good things.
Right.
I'm not inordinately conservative generally in my worldview. I now look at technology as generally a net bonus.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing, so I embrace it and continue to use it. I think that the Trump campaign used the slogan "Make America Great Again" for very distinct reasons, to draw to a certain target market, if you will, of potential voters. Um, just that, like I had jokes with a student about would I wear a MAGA hat, "Make America Great Again"? Would I wear a hat like that in my YouTube videos? Never mention it. Just do Thai massage and wear that hat. And one of my students was like, "I would unsubscribe from your channel." And I was like, "Because I wore a hat?" And because, see, the thing is, she looks at it like I'm supporting the administration by wearing that hat. And I'm like, no, I just wore a hat. It's
Yeah.
just a piece of cloth. But
Yeah.
the symbol is the idea. And if you don't think symbols are important, put up a swastika somewhere.
Yeah.
Put up a cross somewhere. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Put up an image, because in Islam, you're not supposed to make idols of Muhammad, of Allah, right? So put up a symbol. It's against their religion. Like, symbols are extremely potent, and that's why I mentioned that. They're extremely potent. "Make America Great Again" is a quick slogan. When you're at a political rally and they could say 4 more years, 4 more years, 4 more years, it's easy, it's repeatable, and it's chantable.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean much of anything on its own.
Yes.
But when you start throwing around words like truth and freedom and justice, well, who's anti-truth? Who's anti-freedom? Who's anti-justice? Not very many people. So the thing is, it means whatever that person thinks it means. That's where you're dealing with slogans and monikers and symbols. And that goes so far as to say, like Nike and the Nike swoosh. What does that symbol represent to people? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? That's why Nike, dealt with Colin Kaepernick.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out that their target market of people that they were
That
going to sell athletic wear and shoes to liked Colin Kaepernick, and it was worth it to ostracize the rest of these people,
that's so
because
funny.
Colin Kaepernick as a personal brand becomes a symbol.
It's so well, in irony, the way that you're pronouncing his name, it completely
Kaepernick.
it completely changes like the whole like perspective if you do it that way, and people on the left wouldn't like the way that you pronounced it because it ties him to Copernicus, and the people on the right wouldn't like it because it ties him to Copernicus, and ultimately at the end of the day, Nike to some means oppression, and to others it means success. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like today, I mean, stockholders are gonna look at it like is it up or is it down? It's oppression if it's down, and if it's up, it's victory. And if you talk to Phil Knight, he would say it was his way out, even though he didn't. He wasn't he was the corporate founder, not the founder of the brand. It people will own. It depends when you get in on the timeline. I think that has a lot to do with everything that we've been talking about. Like, I see you as a young person. Like, I don't see Robert Gardner as old. I see him as young. But I'm sure there are certain circumstances where you might find yourself behaving as an old person.
I feel, especially as an educator, I think part of my issue is I am translating massage therapy and massage education for millennials. And I'm translating it from school owners who are baby boomers. So I'm in this situation where I'm in this Gen X like dividing line where I saw the technology developing and I have to translate it from this school owner to this 19-year-old student.
Mm-hmm.
Because this 19-year-old student is on TikTok and this guy's like, no, we're still teaching the marketing from the yellow pages.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, whoa, 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 we can't do that anymore. That shit is gone, bro. Like this is a new world, but there's not a keeping up with the changes.
Yeah. So the school owners, whether they know it or not, they're just fucking over the millennials.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, I wouldn't use language that harsh, but I just wrote a blog post about massage schools taking massage students and basically creating them as cogs in the corporate machinery.
Yeah.
And I'm already getting hate mail on Instagram and whatever because the guy works at a school. He's like, not our school. Our school is awesome. And I go, great. I'm glad that your school is above average. But I travel around the United States and I see these massage therapists who've gone to these schools where the curriculum is generally standardized and the school is just getting them ready to pass the NBLEX and get their license, no more, no less. And if you read the blog post, I don't fault schools. In Texas, they only have 500 hours. That's not enough time. Like Trent, to be able to be in a massage school and me teach the students the way I would teach them about marketing and say, hey, you need to start your own podcast. That is rebellion. That is innovation. That is disruption within my industry. Just me saying that makes me a target because they're like, we don't like what you're saying. And I'm like, well, the technology doesn't give a shit about your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And it ain't going to stop.
Yeah. Well, we've done about an hour and 30 here, and I think that we've talked about pretty much everything that could possibly be talked about for someone who is just getting a basic introduction. But if someone wanted to get a more in-depth, practical sense of what you're doing, how do they go about executing on that?
So one, there's a free workbook on my website, robertgardnerwellness.com. You can download that for free. Two, you can go to our subscription service, which is on the website again in our store, robertgardnerwellness.com. The free trial, there's 424 hours of video in there. It's free for your first month, $7 a month after. And if you want materials, there's a 20% discount. I'm assuming there are links connected here that you can click on. There's a 20% discount on our digital materials for the holidays. So our workbooks and DVD sets, you can buy those in digital form for 20% off. I think that's the easiest way to get started. The other portion is if you want more free stuff, just follow me on whatever social media. I continue to educate and share stuff across platforms, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. So just follow me wherever you are.
All right. So thank you guys for tuning into the show. We will be back again, I believe, on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with Michael Ortiz. I believe that's correct. And we look forward to having you in the audience again. So once again, thank you for listening.